Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You know, I was planning to upload this video on January 25th, but since I'm gonna be at the Pantages Theater seeing Frozen with New Horizons, I had to get this blog ready as soon as possible. Anyway, with the Chinese Lunar New Year coming up, I want to blog something mouse or rat related. In the past, I blogged 2 of the American Tail movies, though I should blog the final 2 this year. I did Buster and Chauncey's Silent Night. I did Tom and Jerry's 1993 movie. I did a few Mickey Mouse related films, along with Ratatouille, The Tale of Despereaux, The Great Mouse Detective, and The Secret of NIMH. Speaking of which, when I blogged this movie back in 2018, I did praise it for not only being underrated, but for also being dark, epic, mature, and a thought-provoking movie. Special thanks to Don Bluth for directing such a classic. And despite the fact that I didn't mention it in my blog, I want to thank Paul Williams for singing Flying Dreams during the end credits. It really was a tear-jerking song. Anyway, to start off the year of mice and rats, why don't I take a look at The Secret of NIMH's direct-to-video sequel and see what I think about it. Released to home video on December 22nd, 1998, the movie is The Secret of NIMH 2, Timmy to the Rescue. Now let's get started. After recovering from pneumonia, which was an illness that plagued him in his youth during the first movie, country mouse Timmy Brisby moves to Thorn Valley and grows into a strong young mouse. When fellow Thorn Valley resident Jenny Mcbride begs Timmy to help her find her missing parents, he gets the opportunity to prove himself worthy of the Brisby name. Timmy sets out on a journey that puts him on a collision course with his corrupted brother Martin and the dreaded National Institute of Mental Health. So, what do I personally think of this movie? Well, in my honest opinion, I enjoy it. Sure, it's not better than the original, and I am aware of its numerous flaws, like the animation quality and the continuity errors that it has, but it's a much better sequel than this shipwreck that came from my father's home country. But to further explain, let's move on to Mustang notes. Now, there's not much trivia here, but all I can say is that, like the American Tail sequels, the Land Before Time sequels, and the All Dogs sequels, this film was created without Don Bluth's support or input. Also to note, the movie is not related to Roxo and the Rats of NIMH, which happens to be the sequel to the book on which the original film was based on. As for the animation, well, in my opinion, the animation is not too bad. I mean, yes, it's not as dark or thought-provoking as the first movie, and it's not up to snuff with Don Bluth's style, but it's not really terrible compared to some animated movies released nowadays, like Food Fight or Where the Dead Go to Die, or those stupid Angry Birds movies. But I do have to say that I think Thorn Valley looks very beautiful and peaceful. I mean, it's basically a mouse or rat-styled village near the trunk of a monstrous gigantic tree. However, there are a few dark moments. For example, the opening recap prologue, despite the fact that it's recycled from the first movie, is really thought-provoking. And I also think that the scenes at the National Institute of Mental Health, or NIMH for short, is really spooky. Speaking of which, as I said 2 years ago, NIMH is one of 27 institutes and centers that make up the National Institutes of Health. It is said to be located in Bethesda, Maryland, and it is the largest research organization in the world specializing in mental illnesses. Now, to me, like the flashback in the first movie, the scenes in NIMH are really dark, since, as you all know, I have a huge fear of medical hospitals, especially mental ones. Also to note, while the first movie did have Flying Dreams as its only song, because this sequel is from the 90s, this movie is, well, a musical. And to be honest, guys, the songs in this movie are sort of a mixed bag for me. The 3 most interesting songs, in my opinion, are Come Make the Most of Your Life, which is a song sung by the Rats of NIMH, who give Timmy a tour around Thorn Valley. The Magic Mystery Show, sung by Cecil and Jeremy, while they try to make some money while Jeremy is posing as the Great Owl in his absence. And of course, the villain song, Just Say Yes, sung by a corrupted Martin, who tells Timmy and Jenny of his backstory on how he got mentally insane, and tries to convince him to join him in his evil plan to conquer Thorn Valley. Now, I wish I could talk about the other songs, but like I said earlier, it's a mixed bag for me. But anyway, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Our main character, Timmy, is voiced by Ralph Macchio, best known from the original Karate Kid trilogy. Now, as we all know, in the first movie, Timmy didn't have much of a big role due to him being sick with pneumonia. But in this movie, Timmy is sent to Thorn Valley to learn in the rat's way of life and become pretty much like his late father, Jonathan. In my opinion, I think Timmy has gotten a lot of character development, and I understand that most folks do not like him for replacing his mom as the main character, but still, I think Timmy is very courageous and adventurous. Plus, he has his father's intelligence. Next we have Justin, who's this time voiced by William H. Macy, who got to be in such stinkers like Jurassic Park 3 and Dougal. But on the bright side, he got to be in Wild Hogs, The Tale of Despero, and Hayao Miyazaki's The Wind Rises. Now, in this movie, Justin has been promoted from Captain of the Guards to Leader of the Rats after Nicodemus' death and Jenner's defeat from the first movie. And he serves as Timmy's mentor and father figure. In my eyes, I think Justin is still a great character, and I do like a few scenes where he bonds with Timmy and shares a few stories about Jonathan. We also have Mr. Ages, once again voiced by the late Arthur Mallet, who got to be in John Carpenter's Halloween, Disney's Mary Poppins, A Little Princess from 1995, The Black Cauldron, and Don Bluth's Anastasia. In this movie, Mr. Ages serves as one of Timmy's teachers while he's staying in Thorn Valley. However, unlike Justin, Mr. Ages is strict and protective, and he warns Timmy that humans must never know about Thorn Valley, otherwise NIMH might try to hunt them down again. Next up we have Jeremy, again voiced by the late, great Dom DeLuise. In this movie, while Jeremy is still one of my favorite characters, he doesn't have as big a role as he had before. I mean, he's first seen flying Timmy to Thorn Valley, as well as playing baseball and swimming with him. But years later, since the Great Owl is absent in the sequel, Jeremy poses as the wise and powerful bird with some help from con artist Cecil until they got caught. But afterwards, Jeremy flies Timmy and Jenny to NIMH, and later flies the surviving mice and rats to safety when NIMH catches fire. Next we come to Timmy's brother, Martin. While he was arrogant, rude, and overconfident in the first movie, in this movie, Martin is very jealous of his little brother for having been selected by Nicodemus as being the future hero. Though, I did think it was nice when Martin tries to teach Timmy to use a slingshot. However, years later, when Timmy is studying in Thorn Valley, Martin was kidnapped by NIMH researcher Dr. Valentine, who led an experiment on him, believing Martin to be a regular mouse. Unfortunately, the treatment turned Martin into a threatening mad mouse voiced by Eric Idle. After Martin's corruption, he betrays Dr. Valentine and takes over the NIMH laboratory and tools, using them to create an army to take over Thorn Valley. In my eyes, I don't think Martin is the true villain. I mean, I don't see corruption as real evil, more like manipulation evil. So, in other words, I think the real villain is Dr. Valentine, since he was the reason Martin became insane in the first place. But, on the other hand, I do like Eric Idle's performance. Also, I am relieved that Timmy and the rats of NIMH managed to heal Martin and turn him back to normal at the end of the movie. Our first new character is Jenny Mcbride, voiced by Hynden Walsh, who you may remember as Starfire from Teen Titans, as well as Alice from Kingdom Hearts Recoded. I really like this character. I mean, she's sweet, beautiful, curious, strong-willed, and brave. Plus, her backstory on what happened to her parents and several other lab rats was really surprising, especially when she managed to find her way to Thorn Valley using Martin's directions before he was corrupted. Also, I think Jenny and Timmy make a sweet couple. Her goal in this movie is to rescue her parents from NIMH, as they had been recaptured by Dr. Valentine. This is Cecil, a caterpillar con artist voiced by Meshack Taylor, whom I remember as Hollywood from the Mannequin movies. I find this guy to be pretty hilarious, and I think he looks like the late Ed Wynn. Though it is very unusual for a caterpillar to scare a hawk by yelling into a log. But it is revealed that Cecil has teamed up with Jeremy to trick the forest animals into paying them money in exchange for telling them their futures. However, on the positive side, I do like the scene where Cecil helps Timmy, Jenny, and the other rats and mice escape NIMH. Finally, we have Muriel and Floyd, voiced by Andrea Martin and Harvey Korman. While these two are basically stray cats who got corrupted by NIMH, I find them to be kind of like Snips and Snails, Scratch and Grounder, or Roga and Thud. In other words, they're the token dumb hench cats. But thankfully, they don't have too many scenes. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, The Secret of NIMH 2, Timmy to the Rescue, is not a great sequel, but it's not terrible either, to today's standards though. The story does have some continuity errors and plot holes. The animation is not as good as the first movie, but not too bad. And of course, some of the songs weren't really that enjoyable or memorable to me. But on the positive side, several of the old characters did bring back a lot of fond memories. Timmy is a great main character, and a couple of the new characters like Jenny and Cecil were very memorable. However, if you folks like the first Secret of NIMH movie, I don't think this movie is for you. But if you're like me and don't give a drat, give it a watch, whether you have kids or not. And be sure to watch this movie with said kids. I give this movie a 65% out of 100. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for the Super Bowl weekend, where I look at something sports related. And what better place to look than at Canterlot High? Mustang power. Oh, and have a wonderful Chinese New Year, folks.